Today's episode of the Bleav in Steelers podcast is brought to you by betonline.ag. And Ike, week 9 of the NFL season is in the books. Still a lot of football left. And if you want to place a bet on the NFL action, BetOnline is the place to do it.
Yeah, I bet online. A lot of people didn't think the Pittsburgh Steelers was going to be this close against the Chicago Bears. But, hey, anytime you want to bet, make sure y'all go to BetOnline.
Steelers did not cover the spread on Monday night. But,
right.
Again, if you want to place a bet on the action, BetOnline is the place to do it. Head to the new and updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV50, that's BLEAV 50, to receive your bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, cue the music. It's time to start the show. Welcome to another edition of the Bleav in Steelers podcast on the Bleav Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mark Bergin, joined as always by my guy, two-time Super Bowl champion and 12-year veteran of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ike Taylor. IT, we're recording this the Tuesday after the Steelers win on Monday Night Football against the Chicago Bears. Steelers have now won 4 in a row. Steelers hang on to win against Chicago at home. Feels a lot better on it after a victory Tuesday, because they played on Monday night. And I tell you what, too, like the Chris Boswell redemption game is how I'm going to remember this one. How are you this afternoon, my man?
I'm good, Mark and Mark. Man, you know it's Tuesday, so I got my dog Mark with me, and Taylor is talking on a Tuesday. Chris Boswell has been nothing but clutch. We wondered what he would be like coming off the injury in that Cleveland Browns game, but the man, that's what he do, man. All he do is kick field goals right down the middle. Whether it's the beginning of the quarter, whether you want to see him do it in the clutch, man, the man should be an all-pro. So shout out to Chris Boswell, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. Glad you're healthy, because that was the question mark going into this game.
The Wizard of Boz, Ike. The Wizard of Boz. He's earned that nickname and some redemption, too, because he missed an extra point. And down the stretch of this game, it's like, oh, man, is it going to cost Pittsburgh? Missing an extra point, the Bears rally down 10 points, regain and gain the lead. But Boswell made a 54-yard field goal, a 52-yard field goal, and a 40-yarder. He also recovered a fumble on a kickoff as well. That's never been done in the history of football, like. And so redemption after missing the extra point. And we're a broken record here on this show, but I'll say it again. If not for Justin Tucker across the division for the Baltimore Ravens, you'd hear a heck of a lot more about Chris Boswell. And he was a key difference maker. And again, able to get redemption on Monday Night Football after missing that extra point.
Yeah, Boswell been in his zone for like 2 years now. And like you said, if it wasn't for Tucker, man, everybody be talking about Boswell. But Tucker is just that clutch as well. You know, he breaking records with the field goals and what he's doing, especially against that Detroit game. So, but the same as well, man. Boswell, I don't know if people really know, but you can just ask any kicker in the NFL, man. It's hard to kick at Heinz Field, especially on that open side area. And Boswell has been Mr. Clutch. So I'm glad the Pittsburgh Steelers got a clutch kicker like Boswell.
Yes. I tell you what, too, this game came, speaking of special teams, like my other big takeaway, it was the fumble on the Ray McLeod punt return that got the Bears back into this game. I do think Justin Fields was worth that first-round draft pick, and I think the Bears have a good quarterback there. If not for the fumble, though, Chicago does not get back in this game. And I meant to check this before the podcast. I don't know if these numbers are out yet. I know that Ray McLeod is playing more on offense. He had a key play on the Steelers' final drive on that field goal to set up the 40-yarder for Boswell to take the lead 29-27. If you're going to have Ray McLeod as your return man, let him focus on special teams. Give those third wide receiver reps to James Washington now that Juju Smith-Schuster is out. That's my 2 cents worth. I would just like to see Ray have more juice, more energy when he has to go perform and fulfill his returning duties. And it was a play. That fumble very nearly cost Pittsburgh on Monday night. That's my 2 cents worth. What say you, Ike Taylor?
Well, the fumble caused them. Then if you want to look at, the chop blocking on T.J. Watt, which I thought was a bad call. That caused him because that was a touchdown. Then if you want to look at, Cassius, and he's getting that taunting penalty, that was 15. That caused him. The referee hip checked him. That caused him. So I don't want people to get this twisted. Yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers did come out with the W, and it does feel well on Tuesday, saying that you won the game. But there was a few situations where the ball could have went the other way. I thought Pittsburgh, in a lot of instances, they got a hometown deal when it came down to a few of them calls. So let's not forget, man, what I did like about Justin Fields looked like, man, he's that franchise quarterback because he stood in the pocket when he needed to. He delivered when he needed to. The game wasn't too big for him. He scrambled when he needed to. And I think Coach Najee said he looked at Justin Fields, towards clutch time during the game, and Justin gave him that look like, let's go. And you don't get that too often. Usually you get that from your Tom Brady's or your veteran guys. But when you got a guy who's cool and calm and collective, in the heat of the moment, like a Justin Fields, he always going to be ready to go. Again, he's been doing this since the Ohio State games. He always been that cool, kind of collective guy, never worry about nothing too much. Let's move on to the next play. And you can just tell how his teammates kind of rally behind him. So, yeah, they got something good. They meaning the Chicago Bears, man. They got a bright future with a kid. As long as they keep building around him, man, it's going to be real nice for the Chicago Bears.
I want to go back to Marsh in just a second here, Ike. So please remind me if I forget. I do want to go back to that. Sticking on Justin Fields, though, I think he's legit. I'm excited to see what the Bears can do as they build around him. There were two plays that really stuck out to me, Ike. And you tell me this all the time. You say, there's a reason why a player is a first-round pick. One was he had a completion to Jimmy Graham where he's facing pressure. He had to step up in the pocket. He takes a shot from a defensive lineman of the Steelers, and he delivers in a very tight window to Jimmy Graham that led to a score for Chicago. That was one play. And then the touchdown pass that he had to Darnell Mooney in the corner of the end zone where he extends the play by utilizing his legs, gets a little bit outside the pocket, keeps his eyes downfield, and is able to complete a pass. And I go back to there's a reason why he's a first-round pick, and you see what he can do, showing flashes in the last few weeks for Chicago. So if you're a Bears fan, I know you're probably a little bit disappointed, and you might feel a little bit robbed considering all the penalties that the Bears had. But you've got to be excited about Justin Fields as your first-round draft pick out of Ohio State.
Yeah, 100%, man. Justin looking like a franchise quarterback, man. When I look at young guys, I always look at a wow. Like, how can this kid wow me? And, Lamar Jackson, he always going to wow you. Joe Burrow, he's also a cool, calm, and collective guy. Some of his passes, he's just going to wow you. Or Justin Herbert, his arm strength, he's just going to wow you. Or Patrick Mahomes, he's just going to wow you. So, and I didn't see it, or we didn't see it at the time, Mark, but you was just hearing it from your offensive lineman in training camp. They get to see this guy 24/7 every day. And when you got guys talking about the quarterback and when you got guys on defense talking about, hey, man, this kid going to be special, it's about that time because players recognize players. But, yeah, I'm so glad they didn't wait or hesitate to play Justin Fields, man, because this is going to move the Chicago Bears in the right direction.
And even if it's under a new head coach, maybe a new general manager after this season. And this game came down to penalties, Ike, because the Bears actually outgained Pittsburgh from an offensive standpoint, but you have 12 penalties for 115 yards if you're Chicago. And that Cassius Marsh, whether he bumped the ref or not, whether the ref intentionally bumped into him, I want to give Marsh credit for this. After the game, he answered every question media members had about it. I could think of a lot of players in that situation say, no, I don't want to talk to media members. He stood up to the podium and answered every question. And I'm going to tell you what, too. Obviously, this is a Steelers show, Ike, but I can tell you this right now. It was a bogus call. It was a bogus call. And if I understand the referees and the intent behind wanting to stop the celebration for the integrity of the game, I get that. But if you're having referees determine the outcome of the game, I take issue with that.
Yeah, I know it's a Bleav it's still a podcast, Mark, but we still got to tell the truth. So you ain't doing nothing but just telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to respect that. I felt the same way. I thought the TJ Watt call wasn't a good call, and I thought the Marsh call wasn't a good call either. That's just how I think. Steelers, hopefully they can respect how I'm thinking because deep down inside, that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? We're going to say in the locker room, man, we got to wait with them two. That's what we'll say in the locker room. Like, yeah, We might say something different on camera, but from a player to a player, we're gonna be like, hey, we got away with two calls, so that's a hometown discount right there. So that's just what it is. So you ain't gotta apologize, man. You just calling it how you see it, and I feel the same way. I thought it was 2 bad calls in those instances.
To piggyback off that, Ike, the hit, I know Alex Highsmith had at least one hit of Justin Fields, and I think Fields was hamming it up like a soccer player would. I think he was acting a little bit, but other quarterbacks in this league here, we're talking about, say it was Tom Brady back there instead of Justin Fields, he's getting the yellow flag every time.
Like everybody, all 4 of them referees throwing flags if that's a Tom Brady. But you know what? I feel like he got that Joe Burrow kind of mentality, and what I mean by Joe, I remember one of the guys hit Joe Burrow late, and Joe Burrow looked up looking for a flag, and then Joe Burrow walked up to one of the defenders and he was like, you know what? When I start dropping these dimes and when I start going to these Pro Bowls, I'm gonna get that call. So I like that response from Joe Burrow, and I think Justin Fields the same way. Like, yeah, it might have been a little bit acting with that, and yeah, again, I thought that was kind of a late hit as well from Highsmith, but you know, Fields ain't gonna get that call. He got about 4 more years to get them kind of calls, but at the same time, yeah, he really do. At the same time, man, that's just what it is. I think he just got that personality. I think he wants to be great, and he will be great, and he understands, you know, I got to wait in line. I got to make enough plays. I got to get to the playoff. I got to establish myself to get them kind of calls.
Penalties. Steelers had 5 penalties for 30 yards. Again, the Bears 12 for 115. Talking about more than a length of a football field was a key difference on Monday night. Najee Harris scoring now for the 5th consecutive game. And his fellow rookie, where would the Steelers be without Pat Freiermuth? And producer Courtney, let's go ahead and move into the Taylor Talk segment with this Freiermuth touchdown catch. So his second of the game. And Ike, we're talking about back-to-back weeks now where Freiermuth makes a touchdown reception. We're going to show you some footage now, courtesy of NFL Game Pass as well. And we were talking before the show, before the podcast today, Ike, about the receivers lined up at the bottom of the screen just outside of the left tackle. And we were talking about how they're flooding the zone. Go ahead and tell our viewers about what you mean by that.
So before I start anything, shout out to Miss Courtney and the Brinks TV crew for making us look so good with these ad-libs and everything in these videos. But yeah, you got trips left. And what trips left is 3 receivers down to the bottom of your screen. What they're going to do is they're going to try to overflood the zone. And that, what I mean by overflooding the zone is everybody's going to go one way in the zone. So you're going to have the third receiver, which is close to the tackle. He's going to do a high post. You're going to have the middle receiver. He's going to do a low post. And you're going to have the guy down at the bottom, man. He's just going to run like a slant. So what you want to do, you want to overload the zone, meaning you want to put stress on the zone. So if we can run it, you can kind of see it. Now, we can barely see it with Ms. Courtney. Can you run it for me 1 second? So here's the overflow. Stop it right there. So the overflow is the third receiver, he's going to cross this inside linebacker. The second receiver, he's going to go in front of the linebacker. The third receiver, if Ben was looking, but I thought Ben already knew where he wanted to go. Mr. Pat, I'm going to jump over you all the time. FREIERMUTH'S, always catching the ball. If you look down at the bottom, the third receiver probably would have been wide open. Of course, Ben made the best decision he could make. He likes that one-on-one matchup. But that's flooding the zone right there. When you got 3 guys going in the same area, but you do it by layers, high, medium, and low, that's when you flood in the zone.
And this was a 3rd and 8 play, Ike, where Steelers need to put a touchdown on the board. And at first it's like, maybe throw it away. And if they get a field goal, they're still up 2 scores. They needed this play late in the game, and it was crucial. And again, last week we were talking about Pat Freiermuth making a combat catch as the play continues to roll.
Yeah, Pat Freiermuth, we're going to go to a whole nother view, but this is what he do. And when Kevin Colbert, when he goes and draft receivers, him and his crew, and Coach T, they look for guys who are going to make combat catches. And when we talk about combat catches, is you're never open in the NFL. So this is basketball right here. So Freiermuth got to give the DB credit. DB was in good position. But Freiermuth, all he did was get the ball off the rim. That's all he's been doing. And I talked to Vince earlier during the season in training camp before he retired. And I said, man, who's special on offense? He didn't say Najee. He said this guy right here, number 88, Pat Freiermuth. They all saw and they all thought this guy was going to be very special. They didn't play running backs before, but they're looking at Pat Freiermuth and seeing what he's doing to the defense, seeing what he's doing to the safeties, seeing what he's doing to the nickels, seeing how he handled himself in training camp, seeing what he's doing blocking. And that's one thing Coach T was asking, like, I know he can catch. I know he can combat catch, but can he block? That was a statement by Coach T. So obviously for him being on the field, he's an all-around total package. But this right here, man, he's just attacking the ball. He's getting the ball off the rim. And you got to have strong hands because the DB is in good position, even though the DB do get a flag because he was holding him the whole time. But if Ben likes his one-on-one matchup, this is the guy he's going to, Pat Freiermuth, and he's been showing week in and week out on why Ben trusts him because he likes his one-on-one matchups. It's a combat catch. As you can see, the DB is in good position, but, Pat, leave me alone. Freiermuth always comes down with the ball.
And as the play continues to run, he makes an incredible catch, Ike. I want to point this out. Few stats for you. Pat Freiermuth, 6'5", the defensive back he's going up against, Kindle Vildor, 5'11". This was a matchup the Steelers also targeted with Chase Claypool earlier in the game. Claypool 6'4". So 6'5", 258 pounds going up against Vildor, 5'11", 189 pounds. And you want to talk about Pat Freiermuth too. On third down this season, 13 targets, 12 catches, 7 first downs, 3 touchdowns. You talk about Big Ben's go-to guy and gotta have it moments, especially with Juju Smith-Schuster out, the season-ending shoulder injury. Pat Freiermuth's been that guy for the Steelers this season.
Hey, that's Mr. For Show Hands. That's his nickname, for sure. They throw me the ball, cause for sure, I'm gonna catch that thing, Big Ben. And I see why Big Ben in that red zone, when it's on a third down situation, he's always looking for number 88, man, because he's a sure-handed guy.
And I'm going to go on the flip side of the ball really quickly here too, Ike. Kindle Vildor is a 5th-round pick in the 2020 season. The only reason he's playing opposite Johnson for the Chicago Bears is because the Bears management mismanaged their salary cap, and they had to release Kyle Fuller, a player who's been a 2-time Pro Bowl cornerback who would normally be in that position for the Chicago Bears. I can't help but think, if Fuller were there, does he make that play for Chicago? Or are you even targeting Fuller on that play in Chicago, given his track record? And so the Steelers, they see the size discrepancy. They're targeting a second-year unproven player. From a schematic standpoint, you just look at the height differential and the weight differential with Freiermuth and Claypool going up against Vildor. I love it from a schematic standpoint of what Matt Canada and this offense did last night on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, it's 3 things, and I'm trying to talk like a GM. I'm going to put my GM hat on. It's 3 things you can't coach, man. You can't coach heart, you can't coach height, you can't coach speed. And I know Kyle Fuller. I used to train with Kyle Fuller, when he was coming out Virginia Tech. So Kyle Fuller's a damn dog, and he got nice height as a DB. But when you 6'5", and I extend my arms all the way up, and you 6'2", and you extend your arms all the way up, I'm going to come down with the ball regardless. So that's just what it is. So Ben actually threw a ball to a little man. He was in position. It's just Pat Freiermuth was so aggressive on going towards the ball. That's why he always come down with it. If 7 wanted to throw the ball a couple of feet up in the air, it would have been the same result, a touchdown.
He's a bully, playing a bully there. I love it. The Steelers wearing color rush uniforms, I'm not sure if you ever got the chance in your career to wear them. I know they had the Bumblebee uniforms. I was just curious on your thoughts. And I feel like the Steelers always raise their level of play wearing their color rush uniforms. They started out great on Monday Night Football and were able to hang on. But what do you remember about wearing, a different version, a different edition of the black and gold?
It was cool. It really, for us, man, you look good, you play good. So your socks and your cleat game had to be good. We can wear whatever. Like I can put on throwbacks, I can put on color rush. It didn't matter. But the socks and the cleats and the gloves had to be on point. And it was just something about the way you wanted to carry yourself. You know what I'm saying? You look good, you play good, but you definitely had to have that swag. So for me, man, I always had my sock game on point. I always had my cleat and my shoestring game on point. And, of course, I had my gloves on point. I had the little visor sometimes. I had a darker tint, another. But, yeah, the color rush ain't bad, man. But for me, it was the socks and the cleats for sure.
Okay, you heard it here first. We're educating the listeners and the viewers about what it takes to get into swagging you. So I had to ask you about that with the color rush uniforms last night, Ike.
For sure, Mark.
All right, let's go to our next segment. And we're recording this Tuesday afternoon. So by the time this comes out, we might know the answer to this question. Where's OBJ going? He's a free agent. Browns have cut ties with the 3-time Pro Bowl receiver who's never a Pro Bowler in Cleveland. But where do you think he winds up, Mike?
Man, a lot of people either saying the Las Vegas Raiders or the Seattle Seahawks. And I think the Seattle Seahawks, between the two, will be a perfect fit. You know, between Metcalf, Ty, and Russ, he being the third. Russ will have some options coming out that garage. So say if OBJ goes to the Seattle Seahawks. But on the flip side, deep down in my heart, I think OBJ might want to take that pay cut and slide over there to the LA Rams. And the reason why I'm saying that, man, I think that's a perfect vibe for him. I think that city, you know, enjoys his personality. I think the city is made for his personality. He already have an off-season home in the city of LA. And it looks like Coach Sean McVay can pretty much get any superstar and get these superstars to kind of rally towards the team. It'd be a we instead of a me kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that starts with Aaron Donald. I think Aaron Donald is the head honcho over there. So everybody got to fall in line on what Aaron Donald is doing. If not, man, we're going to fight. I'm going to get your butt up out of this building. So Sean McVay, you got a guy, when you got an alpha guy like an Aaron Donald, it makes it kind of easier to set the tone. So OBJ will understand that. Second of all, OBJ and Von Miller are real close. They're real close friends. So I think Sean McVay would know what to do with OBJ. But the only thing OBJ going to have to do, in my mind, my personal opinion, is kind of take a pay cut, then restructure his contract after this year. But I think that would be a perfect fit for OBJ in LA.
I like it, Ike. And I was going to push back against the Raiders because the Raiders just signed Deshaun Jackson, who left the Rams. Rams have a void there now. So you get, swap out one speedster for another. The whole OBJ Baker Mayfield thing, Ike, you know my thoughts on this. It's been like oil and water. And for whatever reason, it didn't work out. In my opinion, it's a failure on all parties. I hold everyone accountable. OBJ, Baker Mayfield, Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry. We saw what OBJ could do a year ago. Go back and watch that Browns-Cowboys game from the 2020 season where OBJ puts up a hat trick. And it's like, if he could do this every week and you see what he could do in the open field, why would you not go out of your way to make that a part of your game plan? And the Browns, for whatever reason, never were able to make it work, despite having OBJ's college teammate Jarvis Landry also on the roster. I tell you what, I just like to see him go somewhere with adults in the building. I'd like to see him go somewhere where he's got a quarterback who can get him in line for what the team needs to do, because we are being robbed of what could potentially be one of the NFL's best receivers. And we really haven't seen it since he left the New York Giants. And for whatever reason, it didn't work out in Cleveland. So wherever he winds up, I hope we get to see how he can showcase his ability. The off the field stuff, like, look, we can get into, why his dad's tweeting out videos of why Baker Mayfield is struggling and getting his buddy LeBron James to tweet about everything. And it's just, to me, it's like, let your athletic excellence be your brand. And I want to see that again, because we talk and we talk and we talk and we talk. And it's like, I just haven't seen the on-field production for him. Again, I'm not going to say that that's all on OBJ. Certainly, injuries have been a part of that too for the past few seasons with him in Cleveland. But I want to see him get back to the ability that we saw when he was a young receiver for the Giants. And it was like, is this guy going to be one of the transcendent receivers that we talk about? And to be able to do that, he's got to go, where a play caller knows what he's doing, a quarterback who knows what he's doing, fall in line. And you've told me this too, like, we can all go celebrate in the end zone when we're scoring multiple touchdowns throughout the game. Wherever he winds up, that's what I would like to see, because as football fans, we are being robbed of one of the NFL's transcendent talents. It didn't work out in Cleveland. It just didn't.
Well, he got to go with a strong-minded, strong personality quarterback. You know what I'm saying? The reason why it worked out well with Eli, because they play high school ball together. Eli knew him inside and out. So OBJ is a real live rock star. I don't think people understand that. OBJ can go anywhere in the world and somebody's going to know him. Usually that happens when you're a quarterback, not a wide receiver. But the fact OBJ has a lot of swag, he has a strong personality, he's a good-looking kid, and he's just so happened to be very talented on that field. He captured a lot of people's attention, you know, from rappers to artists. They all, when they have a rap song, they'll rap something, they'll put OBJ in that. That's his transcendent talent that he has, you know. So OBJ just a little bit different, man. If OBJ wanted to be a boxer, he'd be a professional boxer. If you see OBJ, you know, for the LA Dodgers, you know, in training camp, he's hitting the ball over the fence. If you watch him play soccer, man, he's real good at soccer. The dude is just a superior athlete. He's just one of those rare guys God drop on the earth and be like, look, you know what? I'm going to give you talent so you can do it all. He just so happened to be a football player, you know? So that's just what it is. And I agree with you. I don't want to see this go to waste. I don't want my Bugatti sitting in the garage. I want to drive my Bugatti. Even though my Bugatti might run high on gas, I still want to drive it. And that's OBJ. So that's why I think LA would be a perfect fit because of the Von Miller, the Aaron Donald, the Sean McVay, and the Matthew Stafford does know exactly what to do with them. If your personality ain't strong, if you're not a strong-minded person dealing with OBJ, it's just not going to work. You know what I'm saying? He's a different kind of alpha. He's a different kind of talent. So that's just what it is. But OBJ, man, hopefully he'll land somewhere. Just my personal opinion. But I think he should land with the LA Rams, though.
Okay. I got two other possibilities. Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. Then maybe the Saints as well with Sean Payton and company down in New Orleans. So he also went to college. He went to college at LSU. I'm with you, though, Ike. I know Winston's out for the year with the Saints. I got you there. But, yeah, we'll see how all this shakes out. And again, I tell you what, too, I'll leave it at this. Holiday season's coming up, too. Our guy Dave Damashek put this out on Twitter while all of this OBJ shenanigans was unfolding last week. Where are the free Baker T-shirts? I want, holiday season's almost here, Ike. Men's medium. This could be your holiday gift to you. Get me a free Baker T-shirt. I saw a lot of the guys rocking the free OBJ shirt. So, and I know listen, I'm really not going to take a position to say, oh, I'm Team Baker Mayfield. Oh, I'm Team OBJ. It was a failure by all parties in Cleveland, and I'll leave it at that. But free Baker T-shirt looked nice, like men's medium for me, please.
Yeah, it's tough to free Baker. The reason why I'm saying this is, you got two running backs, you got the best offensive line, you got two good receivers in People Jones and Jarvis, you got three tight ends, and you got a defense who got nothing loaded with first rounders on there, so they finally come around. So It's just Baker got to get over this, man. We need you hump. And what I mean by this, we need you hump is, okay, our running game isn't working, our tight ends ain't been able to do what they need to do, and our defense ain't playing up the par. Can you Justin Herbert? Can you Patrick Mahomes us? And that's how they're looking at it. And Baker been coming up short in those cases. You know what I'm saying? So that's the hump Baker got to give up too, because everybody looking at it, if you put a Patrick Mahomes, if you put a Justin Herbert, if you put a Lamar Jackson with that talent that the Cleveland Browns got, we'll really be talking about football. So here goes to our truck or trailer or our pilot or passenger. What is Baker? So we always look at Baker as a trailer or a passenger, not the pilot or not the driver. So that's just is what it is. I like his confidence. I like his swag. I like his commercials. I like that he don't give a what. He was a walk-on. He transferred. I like his whole story. But by the end of the day, in the NFL, man, when you're playing that quarterback position, when you're number one pick, what are you? A truck or a trailer, a pilot or a passenger? And I think for the most part, people say he's a passenger or a trailer.
Yeah, it was funny. I'm going to pull back the curtain for our listeners. You called me on Sunday, and I was watching the Browns-Bengals game. The Browns hang 41 on their AFC North opponent. And I said, the Browns look pretty good today. And you go, yeah, that's, after the whole OBJ saga. And the first question you asked me is like, oh, is Nick Chubb gone for an 100-piece? And it's like, yeah, he's got more than 100 yards in the ground. He's like, Baker looks a heck of a lot better when Nick Chubb and company go off in the running game versus when he doesn't. And you have to rely on Baker Mayfield. It's funny. You. I know you were coaching your youth team on Sunday, but you hadn't even watched the game and you knew this.
Right. That's just what it is, man. He only threw 20. He only threw 21 times. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you throw 21 times. Just like we've been talking for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we say, man, you keep 7 under 30 pitch count. We got action. 7 threw the ball last night 30 times for 280 yards and a touchdown. No turnovers. So I'm not trying to be psychic, but I am cousins to Miss Cleo. That's back in the day for all y'all viewers who don't know Miss Cleo. Miss Cleo was a psychic back in the day, but I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying.
Like the AFC North is wide open. We're going to get into some of our other Week 9 reactions as well now that that's all wrapped up. Okay. I want to tell our listeners and viewers this, and to the Chiefs fans specifically. You're welcome for jinxing Jordan Love in his first career start filling in for Aaron Rodgers. I thought we were good and destined for another decade plus of Green Bay quarterback Packers excellence. And right. He kind of laid an egg in his first start. It's his first career start, so it's not to say that Jordan Love is doomed for the rest of his career. But the Chiefs defense, like they actually looked competent. And I put this out on social media saying this was the best Chiefs defensive performance since when? I could not tell you the last time they held the team to single digits, and Chiefs able to get by Green Bay. If Aaron Rodgers plays in that game, you can't tell me that that's not a different outcome.
Aaron Rodgers would have put up 50-piece. On that defense, they lucky. They Jordan Love ain't giving me that wow factor. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. If nobody out there training camp, if none of your teammates saying he's special and he's the one, if they don't feel like you got a wow factor, then you don't have a wow factor. And I love Jordan Love, but man, I just didn't see that Justin Fields wow factor. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at it. And man, I'm saying with that defense, because honestly, they could have scored. Well, matter of fact, they missed 3 field goals for one. So the score could have been a little bit different. They wasn't getting their first downs. He missed a few. He did show some flashes on being athletic, but not as athletic. I think he's an upgraded version of a Jameis Winston. I don't know how much good that is when it comes down to running. But other than that, man, I didn't really see a wow factor. And the Chiefs defense, they played okay. You know what I'm saying? They did okay. If Aaron was there, Aaron would have put up a 50-piece on them boys, because actually Green Bay defense played very well and gave opportunity after opportunity for Jordan Love to score some points, but he did late.
I couldn't get enough of the Josh Allen content because you had Buffalo Bills Josh Allen going up against Jacksonville Jaguars. Josh Allen, there was an interception, a sack, and a fumble recovery between the two players. And so I'll tell this to our listeners and viewers. Josh Allen is better than Josh Allen, and I'll leave that for your interpretation.
You're always coming up with something, bro.
Hey, who do you have as your best AFC team? Because the Bills did lose to the Jags. Titans had an impressive win. Who's your favorite right now in the AFC?
Right now it's the Baltimore Ravens. As of now, it's the Baltimore Ravens. Because Lamar is just built for the pressure. He built for give me the damn ball. He built for we don't need 2 punt. We don't even need a punter. When it's 4th and whatever, man, just give me the ball. And he's been coming through week after week throughout this whole year. That's what he do. When you have a head coach asking the quarterback, hey, Lamar, what you want to do? Coach, let's go for it. Okay, let's go for it. That's a lot of trust, bro. That's a lot of trust. And you can see, not only does he have the trust from his coaching staff, his teammates love him. And Lamar looks like one of those guys where the cafeteria lady, the janitor, they just love him. He just treats everybody right. That's just who he is. So you can just see it from afar. So for me, man, it's the Baltimore Ravens right now, man. The Baltimore Ravens, because right now there is no particular team. Honestly, you can't go wrong with it if you say anybody in the AFC, because really nobody's really dominating right now. I'm just looking at the fact that Lamar has been Mr. Consistent, and he's been the only one since week 1 who has been dominating in the AFC.
And I like the Titans, but I like the Titans a heck of a lot more when they have Derrick Henry in the backfield. Right. There's some Ewing theory potential, the Patrick Ewing theory, where back in the day, the Knicks played better without Patrick Ewing, their star player who got hurt. But ultimately, I think that will hamstring the Titans, because you're talking about not just one of the NFL's best running backs, maybe one of the NFL's best running backs of all time. He's going to be out for the rest of the year with that injury there. And it's like, you just look across the divisions, and I just see a bunch of 5-3s in the standings right now. So I don't think the Ravens are a bad choice. I think the Bills have two of the weirdest losses this year, where we look back and we say, how the heck did the Bills lose to the Jaguars in week 9? And then how did the Bills lose at home to the Steelers in week 1? I think those are going to be two games where we look back on and we kind of scratch our head and say, how did that happen?
Yeah, that's two AFC games. We just named two AFC teams. So the Bills got to be careful, because it's going to cost you when it comes down to that playoff ladder where you stand at. It might cost you. You know what I'm saying? In Pittsburgh, we can say what we want to say. They've been winning, but they've been winning ugly. It don't matter. A W is a W. They didn't win 4 in a row, so they went from 1-3 to 5-3. So and that's what we talk about, man. Just hitting your stride at the right time. And that's exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing, man. They're doing opposite what they did last year, and that could be scary. They're going to be one of them teams who you don't want to play in the playoffs if they make it.
Ike, that's a great transition as we start to wrap up today's show. Steelers are going to be on Monday Night Football again later in the season. So there was no Manning cast last night, Ike, which I've been trying to push to get you on the Manning cast. Omaha Productions, Peyton, Eli, ESPN, everyone watching this. January 3rd, Browns Steelers. You'll have another opportunity to get my guy on the Manning cast. So let's make that happen. I'm going to keep pushing for that, because it'd be foolish not to get Ike to have him tell his Pittsburgh Steelers stories about his playing career. But in week 10, Steelers are going to host the Detroit Lions. The line out on this game, Ike, Steelers favored by 9 points. And later this week, we'll have a full preview podcast of the week ahead of the week 10 matchup between the two teams.
Yeah, it's going to be closer than that. I mean, the Lions just been finding ways to lose the games. But the Lions, man, they've been playing their butt off. They've been in a lot of games. They just can't close it out. That 9 points, I'm not trusting that 9 points, man. I trust 5. I go with the 5 piece. I'm not doing 9. 9 is too much.
All right. And we'll see if that line moves between now and when we record again, Ike. Again, our next episode is going to be out Friday to get you ready for everything that you need to know in week 10. We might know where OBJ's landed at that point too. So I want to encourage our listeners and viewers to keep it here on the Bleav in Steelers podcast. Ike, any final thoughts before we sign off here?
No, man, I just want to give a shout out to Ms. Courtney at Brinks TV and her crew. I want to give a shout out to you, Mark. I want to give a shout out to Bleav in Steelers podcast. I want to give a shout out to all the fans and listeners and the viewers who are always, giving us some kind of input, asking us questions. Just tuning into us, man. Major shout out to y'all. Got to give a big shout out to BetOnline.ag for just rocking with us since day one. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I am going to piggyback off of that. And I've just really appreciated all the interaction we've gotten from viewers, listeners. And I want to give a shout out to a guy named Sharif Solomon who reached out to us on Twitter. Ike says the Bleav in Steelers show is great with energy and analysis and utilizes media segments well in its regular format. The cross cover episodes are awesome featurettes as well. Keep up the great work. So when we hear that from fans like Ike, that means the world to me.
Yeah. I mean, they listen, they viewing. So we just got to keep giving the fans what they're looking for: some entertainment, some educational, with a little bit of personality and some flavor. We call that the gumbo pot right there.
Save me a bowl of that, Ike. I'll go ahead and sign off. I'll sign off for the both of us here. For Ike Taylor, I'm Mark Bergin. Thank you so much for listening to the Bleav in Steelers podcast. We'll be back later this week on Friday to preview week 10 between the Lions and the Steelers. Until then, take care and so long, everybody.
Peace.